Tension today. Philippines warns of region-wide conflict over South China Sea reef dispute. Ambassador to Washington raises specter of nuclear war as tensions deepen around disputed Second Thomas Shoal. The Philippine ambassador to Washington has warned that a conflict with China over a contested reef in the South China Sea could engulf countries across the Indo-Pacific, raising the specter of a possible nuclear war. José Manuel Romualdez said the dispute with China over the Second Thomas Shoal had created an incendiary situation. In recent months, the Chinese Coast Guard has violently blocked Philippine boats from carrying out supply missions to Marines stationed on the Sierra Madre, a maroon ship on the reef. It's the most dangerous time. Weapons of mass destruction are very real, Romualdez told the Financial Times in an interview. You have several countries, major powers that have large arsenals of nuclear power. If anything happens, the entire Asian region will be completely included, he added. The Second Thomas Shoal has become the most dangerous flashpoint in the Indo-Pacific as China employs increasingly aggressive measures including firing water cannons, dangerously ramming vessels, and wielding weapons to disrupt Philippine efforts to resupply the Marines. The U.S. has repeatedly warned Beijing that the 1951 U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty applies to the vessel and its crew. Manila ran the ship aground in 1999 to bolster its claim to the reef. China asserts sovereignty over the shoal, but an international tribunal in 2016 rejected its claim. Speaking at the Council on Foreign Relations on Monday, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell said the crisis was caused by one of many Chinese provocations that could spark conflicts that would devastate the global economy. Asked how a dispute over a reef could spark a major conflict, Romualdez used the example of the First World War, which was triggered by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. recently said the killing of a Filipino on the shoal would cross a red line. It's an analogy, but it could happen that way, Romualdez said. He warned that China was testing U.S. resolve with its actions around the reef. I don't think China should just simply dismiss the Mutual Defense Treaty as something that is not serious, because it is serious, he said. Campbell declined to specify the conditions under which the Philippines or U.S. would invoke the treaty, but he said it was important to draw very clear, public and private lines about what was needed to maintain peace and stability. Romualdez also refused to be drawn on the circumstances that would invoke the treaty, but said the two allies had discussed options. Speaking before the most recent incident at the reef on June 17, he warned that the Second Thomas Shoal and other disputes in the South China Sea were more dangerous than the situation around Taiwan because Beijing claims most of the South China Sea, even though the 2016 tribunal invalidated the Chinese claim to waters inside its 9-dash line. The South China Sea is an entire area, and trillions of dollars of trade pass through that area. Do we really want to have one country to control that passageway? I don't think so, Romualdez said. The dispute comes as the U.S. is bolstering alliances in the Indo-Pacific. The Philippines last year granted the U.S. military access to 4 new bases in the country, but Manila has not made clear whether the U.S. could use them in the event of a war with China over Taiwan. Romualdez said the access was intended to enhance the Philippines' defense strategy, not for offensive operations. But he said it was possible Manila would let the U.S. military use the bases at a time of war, if our defense establishment finds it possible for us to allow the use of the sites to defend Taiwan, because it will affect us. That most likely we will agree, he said. We just hope it never happens. But if it does, obviously, countries like the Philippines will play a role in the Asian theater. On other media, U.S. and Philippines seek to de-escalate after sea skirmish with China. Chinese Coast Guard vessels have become more aggressive in blocking access to the contested Second Thomas Shoal. Despite upcoming joint maritime exercises, Manila and Washington are trying to dial down tensions. The United States and the Philippines are seeking to de-escalate tensions with Beijing after Chinese Coast Guard ships forcibly boarded Philippine Navy vessels in the most serious confrontation in the South China Sea in recent years, according to U.S. and Philippine officials. The United States will hold a joint maritime exercise with the Philippines in the coming weeks as a show of support to a key U.S. ally, officials said. The exercise was pre-planned and is not intended to escalate tensions with China, said a U.S. Indo-Pacific Command representative, who, along with several other U.S. and Philippine government officials, spoke on the condition of anonymity to share details of sensitive diplomacy. The exercise will occur in disputed waters that Manila claims as the West Philippine Sea, and could also involve other U.S. allies, such as Australia or Japan, say U.S. officials. Though Philippine leaders have condemned China's behavior as aggressive and illegal, they have also sought in recent days to lower the heat over the disputed waters. We are not in the business to instigate wars, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said Sunday after visiting troops on the western island of Palawan, who were wounded in the skirmish against China. U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell said Monday that the Philippines is being very cautious at this juncture about the situation at sea. They do not seek a crisis with China. They are seeking dialogue, Campbell said at an event hosted by the Council of Foreign Relations in Washington. As for the United States, the most important thing in this time frame is to be resolute, to be very clear publicly in our support for the Philippines, he said.